Remember how we were talking about this matter of conflict and resolution and what drives Western music?
I do remember that.
Do you remember that?
I remember.
What is music theory?
The theory of what makes music work. They're all over it.
You got it. And what is it that drives Western music? We said the first thing that drives Western music is scale degree tendencies. And as you remember, the most dissonant of those notes, scale degrees, was 7, which wanted to go up to 8. And the second most dissonant was 4, which wanted to go down to 3. Now what we sort of skipped over was when you also sound 7 and 4 at the same time, they create a really dissonant interval. The most dissonant of intervals, what the medieval theorists called the devil's interval.
Dun, dun, dun.
A tritone. Not to be confused with a triad, which is 3 notes that sound at the same time.
Oh, no.
Tritone means 3 whole steps. Think about it. F to G, that's 1 whole step.
Yeah,
G to A,
that's another one.
and then A to B natural.
That's 3.
3 whole steps.
3 whole steps.
Not 2 whole steps and a half step, but 3 whole steps. It creates a tritone. Now, there are a lot of neat features about the tritone, but for right now, let's just talk about its dissonant feature. When you put the circle of fifths, remember learning that in music fundamentals? When you take a look at that circle of fifths, take a look at it there on the page. What is directly opposite C?
Well, that would be
F sharp or
G flat. I was going to go G flat.
It's a tritone away. What's more, as you look at all of the opposite ends of
B and F and D and A flat.
They all wind up creating a tritone. And what that proves is the tritone is the most dissonant of intervals. Ooh, that's dissonant. You know, I always would have thought the half step was the most dissonant.
Which is very dissonant.
Sounds pretty dissonant, but I think we can prove by the circle of fifths, tritone is more dissonant, though it's farther away. It's very dissonant. Let's just pretend that you're a medieval monk. And you're singing your Gregorian chant. But you've been attuned to the sensitivity of this tritone. And as you're singing along, you go D, E, F, G, A. All is well so far. Everything sounds fine. D, E, F, G, A, B, A, G, A. That's okay. And then I go directly from F to B. Oh, that's not right.
Oh, I can't even sing that.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. That's
not
just
holy.
Yeah.
It's not a sanctified
So I've got to
interval.
correct that tritone in some way. And what they would do there in the medieval period is to say, let's soften the B. That's what they called it. Let's soften the B.
Which really just means they lowered it. They lowered it.
What we would do is we'd say, let's add a flat to that B. We'll make it a B flat. And so now I go,
That's
perfect
good.
for it.
That's
That
good.
sounds good.
That's
So
good.
now I sing. Very
That
nice.
is where the term softy came from, actually.
Not true. Now we have a perfect 4. So all is well, right? All is well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Wait a minute. What just happened?
We got an E in there. E,
Oh,
B
okay.
flat.
So when you now I'm singing along and I'm going D, E, F, G, B flat to E, scale degree 2.
We've just moved the problem.
All we've done is
Not
created
removed
another
it.
problem. Yes. So I made a perfect 4 between F and B flat, but I wound up creating another tritone between B flat and E. So I guess what am I going to do?
Let's lower the E.
We're going to soften that E and make it an E flat, and now we've got a perfect 5th.
And then we can play the B too, and it's fine in there.
Mm-hmm. Everything's good. Oh, except for the A. When I then sing an A, it's now a tritone.
Okay.
So I got to create an A flat. Anyway, this is where key signatures came from. Well, maybe there's another solution. Okay, so maybe adding these flats, I go B flat, E flat, A flat. It's just going to go forever. Maybe if I make it in F sharp, let's think. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. Now I can go F sharp to B.
Yeah,
that's a perfect
That's
chord.
good. That's good. I
Okay,
like that.
that's good. So now I can, and it all worked just fine. Whoops! Until I got to the note C. Now notice F sharp to C creates a tritone. So though I fixed it, I created another one. It seems you can't get around this tritone thing. That's the problem. You can't get around it. So what I'm going to do is sharp the C. There we go. Now I got a perfect fifth again, except when I sing a G. I create it, so I make it a G sharp. Anyway, you know how the circle works. When you start adding flats, it goes B flat first, and then E flat, and then A flat. That's trying to fix the tritone, if we look back in history far enough. Likewise, we start with an F sharp, then we add a C sharp and a G sharp. That all was to try to fix that tritone as you play a melody. Well, these days, we more embrace the tritone as dissonant, and we go ahead and play.
You gotta love the tritone.
And then we resolve it. And that's what drives Western music once we have harmonies. Very good. All right, so all that explanation to say the tritone. Be aware of tritone. If you have a chord with a tritone in it,
be aware of where it should be resolving.
It's going to have some dissonance, and it's got to resolve. There are some nifty features about a tritone that would also be good for you to know. For example, a tritone is symmetric.
Very much so. In fact, it's exactly halfway between wherever you are and an octave above that.
Cool, huh? So think about it. If you were trying to go, for example, from F to F, I go F, G, A, B natural.
It's right there.
That was 3 whole steps. Now go 3 more whole steps. C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, or F.
Perfectly there in the middle.
So 3 whole steps, and then 3 more whole steps makes an octave, except it's got that tritone in between. That's why we don't use it very often, because we never have resolution unless you have a dominant, right?
Dominant.
To resolve to the tonic. So that's one nifty feature, and that's kind of cool. At least in 20th century music, we took advantage of that fairly often.
Yes, we did.
But for our purposes, which is ear music, pop music, tritone sounds a bit dissonant, and so we want to treat it as a dissonance that wants to be resolved. Here's another nifty feature about a tritone. A tritone is an augmented fourth.
Well, wait. It's also a diminished fifth.
They're both the same. F to B is the same as B to F.
You know, you've got a point there.
It doesn't look the same on paper, because one is a fourth and one is a fifth. But the one is an augmented fourth, the other is a diminished fifth.
Exactly the same.
Sounds exactly the same. So there are some neat features about a tritone, good things for us to know. Also, when we get into like the blues and contemporary music that way, you start to have a lot of chords. The dominant 7th chord, we'll get to that later, has a tritone in it all the time. And therefore it has a certain amount of dissonance that works very nicely for us. We just embrace the dissonance because we have the blues.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah. Next, we're going to talk about cadences. We're going to put all this stuff together and talk about cadences. This conflict and resolution, that is what they call a cadence, and we'll explain it all.
But not yet. First, you do your homework.